going to set you guys up to fail, just to show you how difficult it is to handle film when it's wet. So I've just basically dropped a whole load in this bucket, because if you don't have a machine, this is pretty much how you're going to have to wash film. And believe it or not, and this I must admit is a bit of an anecdote, but I have heard stories that in Russia and places like that, when they were doing some film preservation type work, they needed to rewash the film, this is how they did it. They used buckets. I can believe it because I know for a fact that during the Second World War and later, in the Navy, film used to be developed in buckets. Literally just dropped into buckets, unwound, loose and just sloshed around. Because that's reported in the British Journal of Photography. There's an article in there from someone from the Royal Navy describing how they processed film on ships. So I'm willing to believe it. So we've got to find an end. Oh, that was a bit of luck. We found an end pretty quickly. What I'm trying to show here is just why you need a machine. Because you kind of get into a rhythm after 30 seconds, and after a minute you're bored. So, yeah. Now see, there's a lot of twist that we're having to deal with. The film, as it comes off, it's got a bit of twist in it. So
basically, it's like if you pop a pore, if you
yeah.
back by hand.
Yeah.
Even if you put it on the winder,
This twist is just going to be impossible to deal with. Actually, Bob, do you want to move your...
emulsion might be fragile.
Thank you.
Yeah, the emulsion is going to be very fragile, especially if it's been sort of sitting in the hot sun for a while and the warm water. So, yeah. I want to try and get enough on this reel to show you just another nasty little trick that wet film has up its sleeve. I mean, if we were going to let this dry, this would be like the hockey puck very, very quickly. You saw that that 35mm there. That was just where I'd patted it dry, and part of it hadn't actually been fully immersed the whole time and things like that. So
in or out?
I've no idea. At this stage, it doesn't matter. You can kind of pick polyester from acetate by holding up to the light. And it's the exact opposite to audio tape. Audio tape, acetate you can sort of see the light shining through, and polyester you can't. Well, on film it's the other way around.
I was wondering about that.
Excellent.
Did you go with just nitro gloves, or would you put cotton gloves over it for working with film?
I generally don't wear gloves. For this, perhaps I could, but this is just water, and I'm going to take the risk today. But in film handling, I don't think I get enough feel for it.
Yeah.
If you're wearing cotton gloves, there's a risk that it'll catch on a splice, tear the film. If you're wearing nitrile gloves, there's a real risk that they'll annoy me intensely because they're so hot and sweaty. And if you put cottons underneath, then you lose a little bit of that feel. Because when you're working with film, your sense of touch as you're winding through it and your hearing is really important. You can hear a problem with the film pretty much before you can see it. That's especially if you're printing an old film. Okay, well what I want to show now is that this is actually really, really slippery. In fact, that core could drop out really easily. So if you've got a thing of really wet film, if it's been loosely wound, there is a serious risk of the core dropping out. If it's tightly wound, it's probably going to be extremely tight, so handling won't be such an issue. If you can sort of see this one, this is actually, I'm putting a fair bit of effort into that, and I can only just deform it. Whereas this one, it's just like, if you just sort of let it sit there, gravity will eventually just pull it down. So, there I guess the two extremes.